All right, good morning. Welcome to stream number 8, Tuesday the 16th of December. Market's just opened. And we're once again, like yesterday, opening within the middle of the overnight range. Yesterday we made £140, which, considering we're now risking £200-ish per trade, it's a very quiet day, but I think we did well to make anything yesterday. This is where we were trading, in this sideways range, and this range wasn't broken until mid-afternoon, and even then it was still very choppy for most of the day, but we did end up down, and we're now coming back towards that 24,000 level, that pivotal 24,000. If I just zoom out onto the hourly, so you can see last week we were really trying to hold that 24,000 level all the way Monday to Thursday before that Thursday rally. But then since then, Friday and yesterday, we're back into that range. So today, it's an interesting one because we've spent most of the night in a very tight area down here between 2450, 24100. We've got a bit of a gap between yesterday's consolidation, yesterday evening. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. We're gap down over 100 points. I think an interesting move today could be a move back up into these areas and then playing a short. Could be interesting, but we'll see. We'll be patient. But yeah, as always, if we're within the overnight range, which we are, then there's no trading until 8:30. I'll come back to this in a minute. For the time being, I want to show you where the account's at. So the account sat all-time highs. We are currently up £1,214. I've done a little bit of analysis of my trades. Hard to take too much considering we've only made 20 trades so far, but average profit. I removed any trades that were between -40 to +40 pounds because they're all essentially break-even trades. So these are all trades where I've either made or lost more than £40. My average winner was 119. Average loser was -114. So essentially 1-to-1 is our average win-loss. The important thing is the win rate. We've currently, of trades of more than +40 or -40, we've got an 86% win rate, which is an unbelievably high win rate. I would like to see my risk reward increase, as maintaining a win rate that high is tough. It's tough, to win essentially 9 out of 10 trades is very difficult, very, very difficult. But I definitely think I can improve this this risk reward ratio. I definitely think I can improve that. So if I can improve that a little bit, then if my win rate does decline slightly, then I'll be okay. If it stays as is, then I'll just make more money, which is great. But that's what I'm seeing at the moment. So I'm just going to keep adding to this. I'll clean it up. I just did it quickly before I went live this morning. Oh, wow, what's gone on there? Okay, cool. So yeah, areas of interest today are if the market can move up into this previous day low area, and we'll see what the response is up here, and if the market can break down. If the market breaks down below, then it's a bit tricky because we've got this 24,000 area down here. I really don't want to be shorting into that 24,000 because even if the market does eventually break lower today than 24,000, there's almost certainly going to be a reaction, at least initially, where buyers are going to try and keep the market up. So if I were to do any short positions, I'd want to be closing it before that 24,000. I think it's more likely that we're going to be trading somewhere up here, potentially then trading shorts, as you would expect some sort of resistance, because there really was sort of a massive fall in the middle of the night during the Asian session, and we've not come back up to retest. So I think a retest is highly likely. But besides that, we're just going to chill out, watch the market. This is the last full trading week of the year, which, historically isn't a particularly volatile week, as a lot of traders are sort of wrapping up and de-risking, as it's not a nice feeling. I wouldn't imagine having a big red week leading into Christmas. So a lot of traders are either stopping or they're sizing down. I don't really have, again, just like yesterday, I have no real bias over where the market's likely to go. In terms of the news, really what's being focused on is the ECB's, European Central Bank's interest rate decision, although it doesn't seem like there's really much doubt over what's going to happen there. But even when the market knows what's going to happen, there still tends to be a little bit of waiting around. So it's a slightly similar situation to what we had last week, really. So the market's just tested these pre-market lows and has been swiftly bought. The market really needs to break out of this range here if I'm going to do anything today. yesterday was quite a useful day in terms of what I learned through trading within a range. So today, if we do make any trades within this overnight range, we will be taking profit at around 1 hour. We won't be taking partial profits, it'll be full profits. I made the mistake yesterday of betting on a breakout whilst we were in a range, which isn't the right thing to do. Because once you get to the extremes of the range, there's a higher probability that we revert back to the mean than there is of a breakout. But because I'm used to trading breakouts, once we're already outside of the range, it's just a slight shift in psychology and position management. But my entries yesterday were excellent, absolutely excellent. Out of the 3 trades I made, 2 of them were absolutely perfect entries. The middle trade was a really good idea. I just got a bad fill, meaning I clicked about 1 second or half a second too late, which meant I shorted about 5 points further down than I wanted to. But I mean, that's something that happens when you trade such short time frames. That will happen sometimes. But all 3 trade ideas were valid and profitable. And if I had taken profits at 1 hour, it would have been a really nice session. But those sort of days yesterday aren't the days that are going to make this account. Like Friday, where we made 380, risking 150. So that would be, if we did that this week, that would be 25% more. So that would be a £500, give or take, day if we did it this week. And they're the sort of days that really make the difference. A day where I'm making 150 quid or losing 150 quid are sort of insignificant from a P&L standpoint, but as long as we learn from it, it's not a waste of time. So if I was going to make a forecast, I would expect the market to push higher this morning. Maybe not significantly higher, but this is a real chunky support level that's forming. Perhaps there may be a dip down to 24,000 before a move up. But just looking at these opening 5-minute candles, we've got 2 large wick candles down to the lows where buyers have stepped in every time, and you're seeing this sort of double or triple bottom forming on the 1-minute chart. I'm nowhere near bullish enough to actually want to buy down here. Maybe later in the session after 8:30. See what happens now. 4th 5-minute candle, once again on its way down to the lows of the day. My voice still hasn't woken up yet at this time of morning. So we'll see if the market can hold again. So as we sort of just expected, the market is trying to make a push higher now. Did sort of feel inevitable. It's difficult. I'm not really seeing much that's going to get me interested today. You know, normally this rally higher would be getting me interested in a long position if we break above this high of day, but you know, there's so much resistance above that high of day, given that we've now been in a downtrend the last couple of days. You know, I like my trades to be in agreement with the sort of wider context, if you like, of what the market's been doing. You know, so if the market's been strong, I like to continue trading that strength. But when the market's in a downtrend, it doesn't feel so great going long on breakouts, because more likely that they're going to be false breakouts. And trading the shorts isn't overly exciting either, given that we've got that big support level at 24,000. It'll be much clearer on a daily chart here. If I just remove the drawings. So really, this whole range here is not really a great place for us to be and for us to trade, because we've got very strong resistance at 24,500 and we've got very strong support at 24,000. If we break lower, you know, there's a lot of room for downside, and if we break higher, then we're looking at all-time highs, which is obviously exciting in itself. So I think once we break out of this 500-point range, I think volatility will really kick back in and it'll become a lot better to trade. But I think until the market decides which direction it's going to break out, I think we've got a bit of probably a few tricky days ahead. So market's holding VWAP at the moment. So you would think some sort of continuation higher would be likely. But we are still within this range of the day. So at the same time, you could argue you'd be better off betting on it coming back down again. So we are breaking to new highs of the morning. Need to be so very aware of where we are, though, in context to yesterday. We're still below low of yesterday. So unless we could break above yesterday's low and hold it, we're still very much in that downtrend for the week. Once again, trading view is painfully slow this morning. I'm going to have to look into this, see if I can improve it. It is just not very enjoyable. It's fine when I'm not streaming. It's absolutely fine when I'm not streaming. It's definitely the live streaming that's causing this lag, and I don't imagine it's going to be that fun to watch either. So what we're looking for is a push up here, and if we see clear resistance, some sort of retest of the level, and then a follow through down, then this could be our trade of the session. So when we get up here, I want to see initial selling, but then I want to see an attempted push back up, and then some sort of lower high before continued selling. Okay, so that's what I want to see. If we get that, we'll be trading it. This is actually a breakout retest trade that I saw from another trader at the weekend. This is one of his favorite setups, is when the market opens below the previous day low and then we get a retest of those previous day lows before a continuation of the downtrend. But just want to see real strong confirmation of that idea. There's really no room for entering this early, because if you do enter early, then you're just going to be stepping in front of a downtrend, which is not going to go, of an uptrend, sorry, which is not going to go so well. We've got just under 5 minutes till school run sets up, which is the second 15-minute bar. Currently, it would be calling for some sort of short entry above the 15-minute bar on a prior bar high. So we're seeing now the first sign of selling action happening. Now, it hasn't quite hit those previous day lows, but you know, it got within 8 points, which is pretty close. So what I want to see is some sort of pushback up, but then the market make a lower high before continued selling. If we don't see a lower high, so if the market just flushes straight down, we won't be entering. If the market makes a higher high, then we'll be waiting, because we need to see a clear lower high before an entry. If this was happening above the overnight range, then you could easily see this as a breakout retest. But unless we can break above this previous day low and hold above, then I'm more biased to the short side. But it's not so much a bias, actually, as it is just reading what the market's telling me. You know, because I have no preference over whether the market goes up or down. I'm just trying to follow the information correctly. So the market's coming back up. If we make a new high, then that is not going to be our entry. Okay, so now the market is looking to test this previous day low. So we're either going to find some resistance, and that will start setting up a short position, or if we blast through it, that's a sign of strength, and then we'll be starting to look for long positions. But it does appear at the moment, the closer that we get to yesterday's low, the harder it is for the market to keep pushing. So you can see here that we've actually made a higher high, which is not the sort of time we'd want to enter. So we want to see the market sell, come back up, but not come back up all the way. So some more aggressive selling. You can see that the sellers are clearly being more aggressive up this end than the buyers. So now we're looking for the buyers to try and protect the market, but then we want them to ultimately fail. Again, if the market flushes too fast, then we just miss it. We miss the trade. But I want to trade with a pretty tight stop loss here today. Right, I don't want to be trading with a huge stop loss. So this is now the market trying to move back up. If we can get a lower high, that's our signal to enter. Okay, so here's our potential lower high. We'll see if that actually turns into a lower high or not. No. So we've made a higher high. So that's again not a time for us to enter. Market's now pushing. Let's see what happens here at the highs. So still no lower high here. So, we're essentially in an uptrend. But it's very difficult to see a good entry right now that doesn't just come with a lot of risk of just fighting what is currently an uptrend. And my strategy is all about going with the trend. If we look at the 15-minute, we'll see what's happening with the school run entry. So currently, if you'd shorted above the highs of the second 15-minute bar, that would be working out quite nicely. So it seems at the moment like this morning is going to be more of a watch and see what the market does in this sort of situation, so that hopefully in the future maybe we can trade it a bit better. It's just a case of, this is, I guess I'd consider it a fairly rare market condition this morning, in terms of there's this strange gap that's formed between where we are today and yesterday. Where the daily price action is suggesting a long position, but the sort of intraday price action is saying that we're in a downtrend. And it's that sort of conflicting information, I suppose, which is difficult to then trade with much conviction and clarity. we've got VWAP below, which I can see the market potentially testing before we get a big move higher. But this is all guesswork, to be honest, and it's, well, I'm not really a fan of basing my trades on guesswork. Currently forming a lower high on the 5-minute chart. I think this current 5-minute bar is probably quite significant. If this can close green, I think that's a real good sign for the market that there's some real relative strength. But I think if we close red, I think we're likely to see lower prices. So I think what I'd like to see is maybe one more attempt higher that fails, and then trade a short below VWAP. If VWAP proves to be the low point here and we really hold it, then that's fine. I'll stay out of the way. But I think there's some very clear resistance at the present highs, which is yesterday's lows. And I think that could offer a really interesting trade. With potentially extremely high risk reward. So here the market's trying to push back off of VWAP. We want to see a clear lower high. And then an entry with a stop loss above that high. It appears maybe this is going to be the lower high. I'd like the market to push a bit higher so that my stop loss could be closer to that present high of day. Again, the market's coming up. I'm keeping a close eye on that 5-minute chart. Because we want to see lower highs on the 5-minute as well as the 1-minute. Okay, if we get a lower high and selling forming here, I'm going to be short. So here's our push higher. If this fails, then I want to be short. Okay, I'm short the DAX. I'm going to switch screens. We're short with the anticipation that we've just created a lower high and now we're going to break down. So we've rallied up to the previous day low. We've created a range. We've made a push higher. But then that push higher has been met with the most aggressive selling of the morning so far. So we're betting that the sellers are going to win. If they can break back above this push higher, then I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong about that. It may take some time. And this is not a classic entry for me. This is very much a day of learning. And if ultimately we lose, I'm happy to take the lesson. If we do lose this trade, we'll still be about break even for the week, which would be a long way away from a disaster. For me, my primary reasoning behind taking this trade is the desire to keep getting better. Because I have been watching quite a lot of videos on trading reversals as opposed to trading breakouts as an additional way of trading the market. And it really is the same idea. It's just reversed on its head. But the challenge for me with reversals versus breakouts is I find timing the entries much harder. Perhaps that's simply a lack of practice. It's not looking great right now. What the market's done right now is it's made a prior bar low, and buyers have stepped in down here. But the idea that this is a lower high and that the lower highs will continue is currently still intact. Only a higher high would render this idea false. And there was some pretty strong selling coming in here. But unfortunately, buyers look like they're immediately coming around for another go. Another possibility is that we double top and then we sell, so we could end up getting stopped out before the market really moves down, which is completely possible. It's not looking good. I would expect the highs probably to be taken out now. If we do get stopped out, this will be my only trade of the day, because this market isn't looking particularly favorable to really any form of trading, not just this one trade. But I may sit around for a while just to see what happens. And that's going to be us. So that's all stopped out. I'm going to switch screens back over. It'll be interesting now to see what happens. So interesting to see here if we smash through this and break higher, or if we double top and end up moving down. So that puts us on about £7 down for the week. So basically break even. So we had a prior bar low So we sold in what was a decent entry. We immediately moved in our favor by about 10 to 12 points. But then buyers came in below VWAP and below this 15-minute prior bar low. And that's what caused us the problem. So sellers, once again, are coming in here. It'll be very interesting to see what happens now. So price action undoubtedly now suggests that we're going to be headed higher. But, this is one of those days where it's proving very difficult to make any decent predictions, and that's why I'm not going to take any more trades. So I'm not going to take any more of those reversal trades for the rest of the week, but I am going to continue to watch and learn, because when you get them right, they can be highly profitable with very, very good, because they can have extremely high risk rewards. But you may have to sacrifice win rate, as it is slightly harder to get the entry timing correct. But market's making another push, which is really interesting. Yeah. So now we've got some selling coming in. Yeah, this is the thing, man. It's impossible to time it this morning. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to time that, because now if the market moves down, yeah. So this is what makes reversal trading really tough. Really, really tough. Because maybe this will be a top, maybe it won't. But we'll see. We'll find out. I'll be back tomorrow, and we will have a look at what happened, and we'll go through it. But essentially, what we've got today is an uptrend currently, but it's within the overnight range, and it's in the midst of a downtrend for the last 2 sessions, which makes it hard to set clear profit targets. So I think in future days like this, I would just sit out of the market, take the morning off, rather than making the trade that I did and losing. But, you know, what I've learned from today is probably more than worth the money it's cost. So thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully back to winning ways tomorrow. But I mean, this is our first losing stream, so it's like, it's hardly a big deal. So I'll see you tomorrow.